The hardest skill in mixing isn't EQ, it's not compression, and it's not getting your reverbs to sit right. The hardest skill in mixing is knowing when to do absolutely nothing. And I think most of us, if we're honest, have never really been taught that. I want to tell you about something that happens to me, even now, after years of working as a mixing and mastering engineer. After receiving a set of multitracks or a session from a producer to mix, I'll press play and it sounds great, really great. And instead of feeling relieved, there's this small moment of panic. How am I going to make this sound better? Because we've been taught somewhere along the way that our job is to improve things, to process, to shape, to fix, to add value with our tools. So when the music already sounds good, there's a pressure that kicks in because we're being paid to make it better. And if it already sounds great, how do you justify the fee? And even if you're not working with clients, that pressure doesn't go away. It just sounds different in your head. It sounds like, I need to do something. I need to make this better. I need to make this sound like a record. But here's what I've learned. That moment of panic is actually a signal worth paying attention to, because the right response isn't to immediately start fixing things. It's to take a breath and press play again and just listen. Really listen. Not to find problems, just to hear what's there. Some sounds will need work, some won't. And the discipline is in telling the difference and only acting when you actually hear a reason to. So why do we find that so hard? I think it comes down to this. When we're learning to mix, we naturally focus on the tools. You spend time learning what EQ does, what compression does, how reverb works, and so when you open your session, your brain is already primed to use them. The tools become the focus rather than the music. It's a bit like buying a really good set of kitchen knives. You want to use them, you want to feel them in your hand, and you want to justify the purchase. But if someone hands you a perfectly ripe peach, the knife isn't what's needed. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just eat the damn peach. The tools are not the skill. The skill is knowing what the music needs. And that's something you're forever learning, forever developing. Even after years of mixing professionally, I'm still refining it. So if you're finding that gap difficult, you're not doing anything wrong. That gap is the craft. The tricky part is that there are actually two separate skills at play here. The first is hearing the mix and what it needs. And the second is knowing which tool to reach for and how to use it to get there. And when you're still building confidence, both of those things can feel uncertain at the same time, which makes the whole process feel really overwhelming. The most practical thing I can suggest is to separate them. When you're listening, just listen. Don't think about tools at all. Give yourself permission to just form an opinion about the sound first. Ask, does this need more weight, more clarity, more space, more control? Just describe it to yourself in plain language. Once you've got that, then you can go to the tools, because now you're looking for something specific rather than randomly searching. Here's something that actually happened on a coaching call recently, and I want you to be honest with yourself about whether this sounds familiar. We were working on a specific track in the mix, and I suggested a frequency area that we might want to boost. And straight away, before we'd heard anything, they asked, by how much, 2 dB, 3 dB? And I said, I don't know, I haven't heard it yet. And I think that surprised them a little bit. But that's actually the point. The amount is not the first question. The first question is, what does this sound actually need? And you can't answer that until you've listened to it. What they were doing, and this is really common, so please don't feel bad if you recognise this in yourself, is jumping straight to the decision before gathering any information. And they were ready to act before they'd even heard anything. And when you work that way, you're not really making decisions based on what you hear. You're just moving knobs and guessing. The problem with that is you've got no reference. You don't know what you had to start with, So you can't honestly judge whether what you've done is better. You're just guessing in the dark. And that is one of the fastest routes to a mix that sounds over-processed rather than musical. Now, a lot of what I've just described, reaching for plugins before you even set your levels and panning, is something I go deep on in my static mix mini course. Because here's the thing, when you get your balance right first, before any plugins come into play, you'll often find that many of the problems you're about to EQ simply disappear. The arrangement does the work, the levels do the work. And if you want to start making smarter decisions from the very first move in your mix, the link is in the description. So, before you reach for anything, I want you to get into the habit of asking 3 questions. Nothing complicated. You know me, keep it simple. First question is, does this sound already serve the song? Second, is it getting in the way of anything? And third, is it doing its job? That's it. Just 3 questions. And if the honest answers are yes, no, yes, then your job with that sound might genuinely be done before you've touched a single plugin. Now, I know that can feel uncomfortable, but I promise you the more you mix, the more you'll find that some of your best decisions are the ones you didn't make. I've said it before in other videos, but sometimes the best move is no move. Right, let's make this practical because I don't want this video to just turn into a philosophical conversation. I want you to be able to take this into your session today. Now, this is an exercise I use with my coaching clients specifically around EQ, but the principle applies to everything. Here's how it works. Step 1, press play and just listen. Don't touch anything, don't reach for the EQ, just listen to the sound in the context of the mix for a few seconds. Really hear it. Where does it sit? What's it doing? Does it feel like it belongs? Or does something feel slightly off? Only when you've done that do you move on to step 2. Step 2 is make your best guess quickly. If you think something needs adjusting, jump to the broad area you want to work in. Make the move fairly quickly, not super slow, because super slow is harder to hear. Trust your instinct and find the area. Is it in the highs, the mids, the low mids, or the lows? Step 3, zero it out before you commit. This is the key part. Before you lock in that move, bring the gain back to 0. You're not applying the change yet, you're just marking the territory. You're saying, I think it's around here somewhere. Step 4, apply the change. So you've got your frequency area that you've committed to, your best guess. So now make the move, make the boost, make the cut, but make it quick. Make it so that you can actually hear it distinctly, because slow moves, as I said before, they're just too hard to hear. Once you've done that, the next most important thing is to bypass it. Not to tweak it further, just to answer one more question. Is it actually better? Have we made an improvement? Not that it's not different, but actually better. Does it serve the song more than before? If the answer is yes, leave it. You're done. If you're not sure the answer, probably no. That bypass check is a binary decision. It cuts through all that second guessing and it leaves you with a clear answer. And over time, that kind of honest check-in is what builds real confidence in your ears. Now, I want to come back to something I said earlier because I think it's worth sitting with. Restraint is a skill. And it's one that doesn't get talked about very much in mixing education because it's not very exciting to say, I listened to this track and decided not to do very much to it. It doesn't make for a dramatic video or a transformative tutorial. But in professional mixing, it's one of the things that separates someone who's been doing this for a long time from someone who's still learning. The experienced engineer has made enough decisions and listened through enough results to know when the music is already doing the work. The newer mixer feels the pressure to do things. And I understand that pressure, I really do. But the music doesn't care how many plugins you use. The listener doesn't care. They just care whether it sounds like a record. So your job is not to process sounds. Your job is to serve the song. Now, I want to be clear about something. This video is not about using fewer plugins or being minimal for the sake of it. Some mixers need a lot of work. Some sounds genuinely need shaping and fixing, colouring and controlling. The point is that every tool you reach for should have a reason behind it. Great mixers don't think, I always put a compressor on the snare, so I'll do that now. They think, what is this snare doing in this track? What does it need? Does it need more control, more tone? Or does it need to be left alone? The tool is the last decision, not the first. EQ, compression, reverb, saturation, all of it should come after listening, after understanding, and after asking what the song needs from this sound. Because when you work that way, every move you make has an intention behind it. And mixers built on intention feel different. They feel cohesive. And they feel like it was mixed on purpose. So here's what I'd like you to do this week. Open a session that you're working on and press play. And before you touch anything, just listen for a full minute. Not to take notes, just to hear what's actually there. And then ask those 3 questions. Does this sound serve the song? Is it getting in the way of anything? And is it doing its job? You might be surprised how many sounds are actually doing exactly what they need to. And for those that aren't, use that zero it out method. Listen first. Pick a broad frequency area, zero it out, listen again, apply the move, and then bypass it. Binary check. Is it better? Build that habit, and over time your ears will get sharper, your decisions will get clearer, and your mixes will sound less like something that's been over-processed and more like something that's been heard. That's the difference. Now, if you want to go even deeper on that listening first approach, specifically with EQ, then I've got a video on screen now that walks you through exactly that. And honestly, I believe it's one of the most important things I've ever put on this channel. So that's all from me for this week. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.